This now, new students seeking funding for their higher education are in for a rough time. Higher Education Minister Blade Nzimande says NSFAS has no available budget to commit to funding new students, but returning NSFAS beneficiaries who meet the academic and other relevant criteria for continuing their studies will still be funded. I'm now joined by the DDG from the department, that's Dr. Thandi Lewin, for, of course, more clarity on this. Thank you so much for your time and good morning to you. And that's precisely the first question, some clarity as opposed, especially for those first-year students seeking some funding assistance there from NSFAS. Is there funding for them or not?
Good morning, Tumelo, and to your viewers. Thanks very much for having us on. At the moment, what the Minister had announced yesterday is that there is a shortfall currently on the NSFAS funding for 2021, and that is definitely affecting, I think that the anxiety that is being experienced at the moment is that the universities are in the process of making admissions decisions following the NSC results being released for first-time entering students, that is. And as a result, what normally happens is that those students are able to get their funding decisions at the same time. And the challenge that we're facing now is that because of this shortfall, it has not been possible for NSFAS to confirm the funding eligibility of first-time entering students, and that is because of this shortfall. And this is particularly for first-time entrants into public universities. And what the Minister had spoken about yesterday was really to try and bring calm to the situation, to indicate that we are aware of the great deal of anxiety. This is affecting students and their families, but it's also affecting the institutions who are not able to finalize the admissions decisions for their students. And really wanted to try and provide calm that the matter is being addressed and that the shortfall is being looked at by Cabinet tomorrow, and that we hope that we'll be able to make a final decision. As you know, in the budget speech of the Minister of Finance, a commitment was made that all deserving students would, be supported through higher education and training.
Right.
And that is the work that has been ongoing since then.
And Dr. Lewin, yesterday was the first day for most, new students or even students going back to institutions of higher learning. And with that being said, when did the department realize, as well as NSFAS, that they were cash-strapped and under financial distress and could not assist students?
So, the work has been ongoing for some time. Maybe just to indicate that 2020 was a very unusual year. I think it was an unusual year for the whole world. It was particularly unusual for higher education. And you will know that there had to be an extended academic year. In fact, many institutions have been completing right up until the end of February this year, the 2020 academic year. And what that meant was that NSFAS students in particular, there was a need to continue supporting those students with extended academic year allowances. And so that partly contributed to the shortfall. What we are also seeing is a growing demand for NSFAS, and this we are expecting that this year as well, that given the economic effects of COVID-19, that the demand for students receiving support at public universities would increase. And of course, as you also know, we're facing a very difficult fiscal situation, and there have been budget cuts across government, and NSFAS and the Department of Higher Education and Training have been no exception to that. So really, all of those things have contributed to the complexity of this situation and the need to try and identify possible further funding to assist this year. But what the Minister did indicate is that this is an urgent matter. What should also be understood is that government policy for funding students in higher education is a high-level government policy, and the decisions have to be made at that level. And it's not only the responsibility, therefore, of the Higher Education and Science and Innovation Minister.
Yeah.
It is something that has to be discussed at the highest level.
Absolutely. And I think it just leads me to my next question, because, the students that applied for these fundings are students that definitely need it, most of them from previously disadvantaged backgrounds, NSFAS literally being their only resource to gain funding. And I just want to quote the Minister here, who said that the scheme was unable to confirm funding eligibility for the students at this particular stage. despite some institutions, of course, already forging ahead with registration and induction programs, as you've mentioned. So that what happens to these students? Do they await some form of communication later on in the year, whether or not NSFAS has funds, whether the department has made leeway, or do they sit out the year, the academic year, and try again next year?
No, absolutely not. So what the minister had also indicated is that he had met with the vice chancellors through University of South Africa. The universities, by the way, are extremely sensitive to the situation and understand the challenges that are being faced, and agreed, with the minister that what we would need to do is extend the registration period at universities. And so they have agreed that the registration period could be extended. And that's really important, so that once the decision has been made at Cabinet, it will be possible then to engage with the universities and for NSFAS to continue with its work of confirming funding for students should the additional funding be identified. And then what would happen is those students would still have an opportunity to register. So we have worked very closely with the universities, and the vice chancellors are very sensitive to the situation. And really the important thing about engaging with the universities is that it is an ecosystem, this financial aid system. We work very closely with NSFAS and the universities and the department to make sure that there's alignment.
All right. DDG from Higher Education, Dr. Thandi Lewin, I appreciate this time. Thank you so much.